Hi, it's Friday and time to look back at what happened at Queen's Park and Ontario politics this week. The Ontario Legislature comes back on Monday with a throne speech at 9 a.m. And this is all about what the government wants to do in the last 9 months before the next provincial election in June of next year. The Public Accounts of Ontario was released this past week. These are the audited financials of Ontario's last fiscal year, ending March 2021. There was a political controversy over whether unspent funds, compared to the budget of last year, could have been better used to help end this pandemic. And lastly, the Indigenous curriculum in schools was restored with an announcement this week. The throne speech is Monday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. So this is the point of the prorogation that has happened in the last few weeks. To do some homework, decide, set a new agenda for the last 9 months of this government before the election, which is scheduled on June the 2nd of 2022. So everybody's going to be looking for what's in that throne speech. I'm going to be looking for things like making sure that our classrooms stay safe. There have been some cohorts in some schools that have been sent home, some disruption of education. I hope that this, as much as possible, we can ensure that this current school year schools can stay open for the current school year. I hope that there is some discussion in the throne speech about affordable childcare, some kind of deal with the federal government, which is offering $3 billion a year for affordable childcare. I hope that there is some plan to get ready for kids under 12 to be vaccinated. I hope there's something looking at the nursing shortage, the PSW shortage that we're experiencing, something to deal with the rising cost of housing and other costs of living. And finally, I don't want the throne speech to ignore the long term, so climate change. The public accounts came out this past week. It takes about half a year to prepare these audited financial reports of the Ontario government. Revenue came in at more than $8 billion, higher than expected. The government said that this was due to federal government supports for the economy. Spending of the Ontario government was over $5 billion less than budgeted, and the deficit for Ontario came in at $22 billion less than expected, thanks to higher than expected income, which of course would have been taxed. So this of course came from fiscal and central bank stimulus, a lot of it from the federal government, the Canadian Central Bank, and also, because it's a worldwide economy, from other governments and central banks around the world. Now, the political controversy was over the fact that spending by the Ontario government was $5.6 billion less than budgeted. And the opposition party said, could we have lessened the effects of the third wave? Could we have prepared better? Could we have prepared early for the nursing shortage? Could we have had more paid sick leave to protect workers in workplaces from the pandemic? Could we have more aggressively prepared to help schools stay open last year? The government said that spending will pick up this fiscal year because of the third and fourth wave of the pandemic, but somehow that's not comforting. And lastly, the Indigenous curriculum in schools was restored. So this is, of course, the week of the first National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. The provincial government announced that mandatory Indigenous content in the curriculum for grades 1 to 3 would be introduced. Currently, it's just from grade 4 on. This is in social studies. And of course, these changes were started by the previous government, were canceled or paused in 2018, depending on how you look at it. And now it's restored. And there's support from all political parties for this. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Thanks for listening this week, and join me next week as I look back at what happened at Queen's Park in Ontario politics.